Portland, you're up.
Frankie, loving what you're saying. Thank you so much. I wanted to go back to something you had said earlier about service being
Mhm.
kind of the key to maintaining sobriety. So I'm asking not for myself, but for my ex-wife, who is the mother of my kids.
That's right.
She has been struggling. She's in rehab right now for maybe the sixth or seventh time
Mhm.
over the past 10 years. I have actually lost track. She since moved on to another husband, and they've been separated for almost 3 years. So I want to kind of go back to, is the suggestion that sponsorship really is the way that you can sustain that success? And if so, I would imagine you have to do all 12 steps in order to get to the end, to the other side, and maybe this is the coveted 13th step.
No,
It's not like
13
this.
step. So 13 step is you go to try to find somebody to date.
Well, I was gonna actually say I know that, but
Okay.
this would be maybe this would be the good 13th step and not that, because that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
an
yeah. Okay, good.
unfortunate
First of all,
thing.
thank you so much for your question. This is something that is very sacred to me. So I'm glad you asked, because I'm finding more and more that people don't know this. And if you have someone in your life, most of us do, that you're thinking of right now that has struggled, whether it be alcohol, drugs, or both. And what you'll find is that once the struggle is identified and you get that first rehab, that's usually never the end. It's just the beginning of the real struggle, which is this grueling exercise of beat downs and being forced to realize that I'm powerless. So what's happening right now with your ex-wife is that your wife it's not about the elusive 13th step. It's the elusive return to the first step. So most people look at the steps, especially me, and see a ladder. And we look at life like this a lot of times, right? If I do this, then this is going to happen. I'm climbing this ladder. And if any of y'all have been to the top of some of your ladders, I have, it's never what I thought, right? And it's usually a letdown. It's not until I bend that ladder into a circle that the true gold starts to get unlocked, because that is the circle of life. That is the cycle. And so the elusive 13th step is the return to the first step, but not alone. So I tell people all the time, because the guy, we're not allowed to say the name of the organization that most people in their heads are thinking. So I'm not allowed to say that name. It's part of our traditions, right? But what I will tell you is that I have a friend, and his name is Bill. Okay, so I can't say Bill's name. And so Bill, I never got to meet him in person. In 1935, something profound happened. Okay, Bill, just like me, just like your ex-wife, and like many people that we know, continue to try to get sober. And so what happened was sometimes he would like get all this information about the disease, and that would help him for a little while. Or he would start working out or eating better, and that would help him. And then he would have some crazy idea like, well, if I put milk with the whiskey, maybe that'll make it softer, right? So it won't be a big deal. And then he had one, he's like, well, that wasn't that bad. So he had another, right? And 25 milk and whiskeys later, and I don't know if that's where White Russians came from, but the point is that we're constantly trying to fix this thing the wrong way. And it wasn't until the most this guy, Bill, my friend, ever got was 6 months, 6 months with doing like the knowledge and the workouts and all this stuff. He was never able to get sobriety until one night he decided that he was going to call the local church and see if there was someone he could help, instead of going down the other way to the hall to get a drink at the bar that sounded amazing and had the music, and it was just calling him. And that moment is what changed millions of people's lives, myself included. And it's, in essence, to answer your question, the first 11 steps are simply there to get to the 12th step. I tell people all the time, it's like the 12th step is the drug you've been looking for. So if you think of the 12 as like just the big stuff, like I got to assume there's not a lot of heroin addicts or meth addicts on the call. But just so you know, the reason people like those is because they're so damn good. Now, they'll ruin your life in like 30 days or less, but they're good. They're great drugs, right? If you want that, which most people, by the time they get to where your ex-wife's at, and it might be alcohol, right? It might be hard liquor versus like some weird spritzer. But the fact is that the light stuff down here can give you some relief. It's like the difference between like kind of maybe smoking a joint or having like a beer versus like going hard on alcohol or a heavy drug. And I say that because that's the mindset of an alcoholic drug addict. This is the way that I speak to them. Like just so everybody knows, I don't walk into every board meeting and have this talk. Some of y'all are like, holy shit. But the fact is that absolutely positively, the only way to stay sober, period, is to help other alcoholics and drug addicts. So until that mind shift happens where I'm going to meetings, I'm going to rehabs, I'm going to jails to help the newcomer, because remember I told you it comes back to the one. Basically, if she never wants to drink or do drugs again, all she has to do is stay at somebody else's bottom. I stay at someone else's bottom. I'll probably get 12 phone calls today from people that don't pay me. There's nothing they can give me. And they're at bottom right now, trying to figure it out. I've probably sponsored 300 people at this point. Okay. And I don't do that because I'm a saint or I'm trying to create some sort of mission. I do it because it feels so damn good. And you start plugging that shit into business, and anybody you meet, like I'm doing right now with y'all, it's like, I don't know how any of y'all are going to feel when we're done with this, but I knew damn sure before we got on how I was going to feel.
Yep.
Which is effing great. I hope that's okay. Better to be honest about it.
Thank you, Frankie.
Yeah, you're welcome. And hey, also too, just a caveat, please feel free to reach out to me at any given time with any questions that anyone has about family members that are struggling. You can find that LinkedIn.